Okay, you ready? One last video on physics basic math. And for this video, we're going to learn some trig. And you don't need to know a lot about trig. I've drawn a right triangle here. And how do I know it's a right triangle? Because of this little thing right here. This little square means these two sides are at a right angle to each other. And I'm going to add an angle symbol. I'm going to call this angle theta. And just to give you a little quick lesson in Greek, you might see theta as representing that angle. I might use the symbol alpha, or I could sometimes use the symbol beta. Okay, so if you see that, now you know what they mean. All right, so this is a right triangle. Now, we can designate the sides of a right triangle typically two ways. You'll see them in this class. The first one is this longest side is known as your hypotenuse. And you'll either see that labeled as H or HYP. Then the other two sides are adjacent and opposite. But which one is which? Well, it depends on what angle we're talking about. So in this case, I'm talking about this angle. And the side that is adjacent to that angle is over here. And the way you know it's adjacent, because this actual angle symbol is touching that side. That leaves the other side as the opposite. And why is it opposite? Because it's opposite this angle symbol. And it is, and you'll notice that this angle symbol does not touch this leg. All right, the other way you'll see the triangle labeled is A, B, and C sides. And in this case, your hypotenuse is always given the designation of C, and then the other two get A and B. It doesn't really matter which one you call A and B. I usually typically, just because they both begin with A, I try to put the adjacent as A. But again, it doesn't really matter. Now, there are two things that you have to know for right triangles. The first one is using this thing called A, B, and C in what we call the Pythagorean theorem. And I know you probably remember this. A squared plus B squared equals C squared, right? It's all coming back to you. And when do we use this? Well, we use this equation when we have been given two sides of the triangle and we are asked to find the third. And that's when this equation comes in handy. The other thing you have to know about right triangles is this mnemonic. Do you remember this? So, ka, toa. And do you remember what that means? This was an easy way to remember three equations that you need for these triangles. And it is sine of theta is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. Okay, what's C stand for? Who remembers? Come on. Cosine. Yes, cosine of theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. And what's T stand for? Tan theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. All right, so that is basic trig that you need to know in order to solve physics problems. In the next video, I will go through some examples of how to actually use these two things I've just shown you, the Pythagorean theorem and SOHCAHTOA.